everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ushanka Show, stories about life in the Soviet Union. And today we're going to talk about the only internet provider that existed in the Soviet Union, and it was called Glasnet. First of all, I must say it's the amazing name for the internet provider. It's a combination of two words, Glasnost, which means openness or freedom of speech, and network, Glasnet, Glasnost network. Glasnet, the first Soviet ISP, internet service provider, began providing its internet paid services to the population in the fall of 1991. But as you probably remember, in December of the same year, the Soviet Union ceased to exist, and since Glasnet was located in Moscow, it became a Russian telecommunication company. Glasnet provided internet services until 1999, when he was sold and resold several times and finally was absorbed by Wimpel Communication in 2008. Quite possible I used Glasnet internet service when I visited Moscow in early 1990s. I think it was like 1993. I stayed with an American family and they had brand new, top of the line, I think it was a Compaq 486 Pentium-ready computer. They let me type an email, which was sent to Detroit, Michigan. 15 minutes later, we received a reply, and I was blown away. Some of you may remember, I used to correspond a lot. I had a lot of pen pals all over the world, the United States, Finland, even South Korea. And of course, writing letters and then waiting for reply takes at least a month or two. And here, I got a reply from America in 15 minutes. I apologize for this short detour, so let's talk again about computers and internet in the Soviet Union. Apparently, the first attempts to unite computers for the purpose of data transfer were made in the Soviet Union back in the 50s, although I don't know if you could call those things computers. The type of computer network was developed and tested at Lebedev Institute of Precision Mechanics and Computer Engineering, and then it was used, of course, at the military training grounds in Kazakhstan. By the 1970s, there were several computer networks in the Soviet Union. In 1978, in Leningrad, they had Akademset, a computer network for scientific institutions of Academy of Sciences of the USSR. And for a long time, its core was Leningrad Computing Center, organized in the IOFA Physical Technical Institute. In 1982, Akademset was moved to Moscow, and later on it got connected to the Austrian International Institute for Applied System Analysis, which gave access to other foreign networks around the world. And now it's interesting, in 1983, so that's in the middle of the Cold War, with the assistance of US government and the George Soros Foundation. Whoa, those guys were everywhere. So they had a connection established to a computer center in San Francisco, and this segment of the network was named SFMT, San Francisco Moscow Teleport. Initially, this project was non-commercial and just aimed at spreading telecommunications in the Soviet Union, but in 1986, they began to provide access to the Western networks on a commercial basis, so for cash, and not only to Warsaw Pact countries, but also via satellite to other socialist countries as Cuba, Mongolia, and Vietnam. And in 1990, they changed the name from San Francisco-Moscow Teleport to Joint Soviet-American Telecommunication Company, Sovam Teleport. Around the same time, in August of 1990, Railcom Network was created at the Kurchatov Institute, then Demos Engineering Cooperative. That was a time when we had a lot of small private companies called cooperatives were created. They even had a Soviet-Finnish joint venture, Infocom, that appeared in Leningrad in 1988, but they were not actually like retail internet providers in that full sense of the word. So basically only scientific institutions and commercial enterprises could access the network through X25 protocol, and they had to purchase appropriate equipment and of course pay for the connection. Providing access to the network to the individuals was out of question at that time. And everything changed on October 17, 1991, when the Soviet-American organization called Glasnet was officially registered in the Soviet Union. And as the charter stated, it was a public association of citizens and labor collectives created for the purpose of development and democratization of telecommunications on the basis of modern computer technologies. Actually, the network itself was already in business. It was physically launched a little bit earlier than its official registration, and several hundred people already were using it in the summer of 1991. And when in August of 1991, there was a putsch in Moscow, Glasnet conferences were the only few sources that broadcasted truthful information about the events taking place in Moscow to the entire world. This Glasnet network was initially designed for 5,000 subscribers, and its control center was in Moscow, although it was funded from San Francisco by Association for Progressive Communications. And its acting director was a journalist, Anatoly Voronov, and had two programmers, Alexander Zaitsev and Pavel Prokopenko. Glasnet was connected to the World Network through Kurchatov Institute Computer Center and Relcom Network, and since it provided access for individuals, they created special modem pools in Moscow, Leningrad, Murmansk, Vladivostok, Odessa, and Riga. I'm surprised there was nothing in Kiev. So there was basic services such as email exchange and access to the Usenet conferences. What's interesting, users paid only for the foreign traffic. Sending messages within the Soviet Union was free of charge. Besides access to the world internet, another mission of Glasnet was to teach users the basics of networking. So since the director of Glasnet was not a technician but a journalist, Anatoly Voronov, they created a thick manual with pictures which was given to each new user so they can get familiar how to use internet and be proficient. As I mentioned earlier, Glasnet existed for only 70 days as a Soviet internet provider, but still it left a significant mark in the history of Russian and, more importantly, Soviet telecommunications. And here's the timeline of the Soviet/Russian internet development. So domain.ru was created in April of 1994. In 1995, they got the first mass internet provider. Tetris was created in 1996. Russian search engine Yandex in 1997. Mail.ru service in 1998. A copycat of Facebook called VK was created in 2006. Okay, my friends, I hope you found today's video interesting. As always, please don't forget to like it, share with your friends, and we'll talk to you soon. До свидания, goodbye.